Hello all, and just in a wee video here, it's regarding a couple standing stones in Scotland that I've never heard of until very recently. That's the thing about the standing stones. There was only really the main ones, Stonehenge, and there was one on the Ring of Burra, or something, on the Orkney Isles, and that was really it. There wasn't anything like as many ancient standing stones as there are now. I'm a believer in what resembles online is the Mandela effect. As far as I'm concerned, there was never as many as this in Scotland, or in fact Britain. There's now hundreds of standing stones, ancient standing stones. There's only really the Stonehenge was the main one, but now they're everywhere. There's so many, it's just incredible. And with the Mandela effect, like I say every time on my videos, if you're interested in the Mandela effect phenomenon, do your own research or searching or both, and come to your own conclusions regarding it. So I definitely experienced something that resembles the Mandela effect, that's referred to online as the Mandela effect, the phenomena. And certainly it's only been fairly recently that I've discovered that there are so many standing stones, ancient standing stones, and standing stones around the whole of Britain and Scotland. I mean, there's hundreds of them. But before, for me, it was only really just mainly Stonehenge, which has also been altered heavily by the Mandela effect as well, because, and from what I remember, Stonehenge was never touched. It was an ancient monument that had never been altered or touched or messed around with in any way. It survived for thousands and thousands of years as it was. But now there's footage and pictures and records of it have been heavily modified, or big machines and cranes and everything lifting the stones up. And in fact, there's even an image that I saw that shows Stonehenge completely gone, from an aerial view. They removed all the stones and re-put them there. This was in the 60s and the early 1900s and that. Like 1900 and whatever, 900 odd year ago, and also in the 60s. Now I'm only 49 49 this year, and when I was growing up as a kid in the 80s, 70s and 80s, Stonehenge fascinated me. That was one of the things it did fascinate me, for the reason that it was an ancient monument that hadn't been touched at all, and it had lasted all these years, and it was a mystery as to why it was built. So I even went to visit Stonehenge much later on, I think 2009. I went down to actually see it in person, and you couldn't get near it. It was fenced off. You could see it from a distance. You could get around the peripheral fence, but you couldn't get to touching the stones because they were preserving them, and that's what it was always how it always was in reality back then. But now, just lately, I think it's 2018, I went there again, and there was pictures of showing the stones had been heavily modified with cranes and everything all next to the stones, and that was never the case. I would have known about that if that had happened. So again, that's the Mandela effect phenomena, that it certainly resembles it anyway. I don't know what's going on because I don't, but I do know what I've experienced, and it resembles something that's referred to online as a Mandela effect phenomena. Now the standing stones here, I've never even heard them before until just very lately. There's just loads of them popping up everywhere, very bizarre. So I am going to get footage of it now. I'll show you where it is first of all in relation to the rest of the country. I'll use the Google map here and show you. So this is where they are on the map, Craighall Stone Circle, which I'm going to have a look at, and I'm also going to have a look at the Courthill Stone. And it's just northwest of the Scottish town of Blairgowrie. And in relation to the whole country, when I zoom right out, you can see where it is. So that's Britain, and parked quite next to them at the moment. I'm just going to be able to have a look and just sort of putting you in the picture as to where they are and how you could get to them if you want to visit them. So there's Blairgowrie and Rattray. It's just off the A93 road, which runs to Bridge of Cally. So I came out a wee bit too far. There we go. So I'm looking through the phone actually. I'm looking through the phone while I'm operating the other one, so I'm not getting the best. Boningtown Road, and it's just basically a stone throw. Choice of words, stone throw away from it. It's the best I could do at the moment. It's not very clear, but just trying to show you. That road comes up from Rattery, so you're just coming out through Blairgowrie and Rattery, then you're turning right up. You come off the A93 just on the outskirts of Rattery, you're turning right onto Bonington Road. You're just following it up. And then there they are. Well, that's it marked on the Google Maps. So you've got to find somewhere responsible to park, because there isn't very many places to park here. So I've had to just find somewhere near as close as I can. And then I'll just get out and walk to them, which isn't far. So that puts you in the picture to where they are in relation to the rest of Britain, the UK. I've done a video prior to this. So actually, when I was driving up from Dundee to where I'm at now, I've done an in-car series, my in-car series, season 3, episode 10. That shows you the driving footage, the actual scenery from Camperdown Park in Dundee up to where I'm parked at now, more or less, which is where the stones are. So if you want to see that, if I remember, I could put a link in the description. If not, it's just going to be fairly recently put on. It's my series called In-Car Series, and it's season 3, episode 10, and that will give you the driving scenery footage, because I put the camera phone on the dashboard mount, windscreen mount, and got the footage. But it's an in-car series, so you're actually getting more inside the car while I'm discussing my channel, but it does give you a wee caption of the outside of the scenery, so I thought it was worth mentioning, so you can see the drive, the scenery to it if you're interested. So I'm going to get out and have a look at these stones. So it's a lovely part of the countryside. This is on Bonington Road. Parked responsibly off the road, so not blocking any entrances to fields or anybody's driveway or anything like that, because it's a narrow road and there isn't very much areas to park. So you've just got to find somewhere responsible to park and just walk the rest. It's not overly far. But I'll show you some of the beautiful scenery. Really nice actually. I'll show you some of it now as I make my way to the stones. So I was looking out to the Angus area. That is really, really lovely today. This lovely spring day in April 2024. Get a few pictures as well. Lovely as well. The weather is really lovely. So I'll just make my way down to these standing stones. There's one stone, Courthill Stone on its own, that's by itself. I'll get the footage of that as well for you. So this is just the footage looking south. That other footage I showed you there was looking kind of like northwest. This is looking south over towards Angus and towards Dundee, where I come from, basically. But it's just really, really nice day. This is a lovely bit of the countryside here. Car coming, so I'm going to have to get. So I've got a few pictures of this as well. This is just really nice. It's lovely. Lovely day today, because this year 2024 has just done non-stop rain since the start of it, and this is one of the few days you could count them on one hand the number of dry sunny days we've had this year, and this is one of them, so I'm making the most of it. Tomorrow I'm going up to the Isle of Skye for a couple of nights. I'll be getting footage as well from the channel. So just it was a 20-mile drive from Dundee to where I'm at, just to give you the distances that I drove anyway. So from Dundee to it, it's 20 miles. You can use that as reference. So I'm just using my selfie stick for it. Never used it that often, so I'm going to get some more use out of it. So like I said earlier, the standing stones it's new to me that there's as many as there are now. It's just mental, the number of standing stones these days now that have supposedly been around for ancient times. It's incredible. There was only really the two, as I said, and that was the two main ones anyway, was Stonehenge and the Ring of Burra on the Orchid Isles. There was hardly anything else. There's maybe the odd standing stone or something, but nothing like what there is now. I mean, there's hundreds of them. I mean, it's crazy. There's about 70 ancient stones in the Grampian areas alone. It's nuts. But you can't be, we're getting to view them. Got to be careful that I don't, because I'm walking with my back to the chart. But this is just a country lane. So there they are at the head. I'll make my way down to them. So I'll zoom in on this one. This is the Courthill Stone, and then you can see the Craighall ones just in the distance there. Like I say, I'll be going right up to them. I can hear a car come in soon. Okay, that's what's going on. So I've got my, oh no I don't, I forgot to change into my blooming hiking boots. I brought them with us, but I've got my shoes on. I was preoccupied doing something else. I just slipped my mind to put them on, and not that far from the car. It doesn't actually look too bad, so I'm just going to keep my shoes on and walk up to it with my normal shoes. That's Courthill Stone. Courthill Stone. So I'm going to get a close up at that. So there is a close up tip. Maybe actually just use the other. I've took it out the selfie one at the moment because I'm going to just get the forward views of this. I'll get a few pictures. I think it's Courthill Stone, and there's little stones at the bottom as well going around it. I don't know what the purpose of them are, but it's always a mystery. The Stonehenge one was a mystery to me as to what it was about, and I didn't know about all these stones if they were around in my reality back then in the 80s and 90s and right up until fairly recently, when I kind of discovered the term Mandela effect phenomena back in 2016, the later part. Then that's when a lot of things would start to go quite strange in its own right. When these things are strange in their own right as to what their purposes were. And there's another one just on the peripherals, assuming they're part of it. I'll get a few pictures at the same time while I'm filming, which is always good. There is, sure about that's maybe just something else altogether. Extended view. So logging this in anyway. There's a stone away out here, and there's one there. God, good grief! I never realised. I mean, assuming these are part of the stone setup and related to it, it's actually quite a bit out. That seems to be the centre one, and I think these little smaller ones might be planetary ones, because there's one there as well. There's one there. There's one out as far as here. It looks about the same type of stone and the same age, and that seems to come out quite a bit. I'm not sure what these are, if that's anything to do with it, but I'm going to have a quick look anyway. myself over there and have a look. I don't know. They do actually look like a similar sort of stone actually. There's lambs. I'm not going to distract them or bother them with them. Just have a look at this. They've got the stone dike up there. So I'm going to get myself back over towards that stone. Picture from here. So it looks like that's the main centrepiece. There is a sort of ditch, or a sort of ring ditch that's sort of going around it very faintly. Very faintly about there. You can maybe just make out a kind of change in the ground, like as a peripheral circle. So it's odd that this isn't far from where I stay in Dundee. I knew that Stonehenge is like hundreds of miles away, so I never did get down to it till much later on in my life. 2010 was the first time I got there. 2009. So, because it was mystical. If I'd known about these stones, I would have been here sooner for sure. But there's so many now. That was never the case. And just looking down there in the distance, it looks like there's something in by that little lake or pond. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to have a look because I'm going to go down that way anyway towards the Craighall Stone Circle, which is over there in the distance. Also, stones there as well. I don't know if that's got anything to do with the Courthill Stone, but I'm going to have a look at the one down there now. That looks quite smart as well, I don't know. It looks quite impressive. I don't know what it is like, but it'll be something maybe for the sheep to go in a shelter or something, I don't know. There's also some stones down there and there's this thing. So I'm going to have a closer look at that. Yeah, I'm going to make my way down there and have a closer look at these other stones whilst I make my way. So I just looked at the Courthill Stone and I'm just going to have a look at these stones by this pond en route to the Craighall Stones, which is only just up ahead there. So although the ground's fairly dry, it's uneven. That's why you really need to have good footwear like hiking boots, otherwise you could twist your ankle quite easily. I've just got ordinary dress shoes on, which is those. So you got to be careful. So I'm not sure what this pond's called. I'll have to look again on the map, but there's definitely some sort of standing stone set up here as well. It's not actually marked on the map. Well, not in the one I looked at anyway. I never saw anything marked on it. That stone ring thing looks like a wee seating bench. I'll show you. So you've got these stones, and you've got this like a bench in there. I think that's just for somewhere nice to sit, to have maybe a picnic and look over by the pond. It looks really quite nice. And there is this other standing stone as well by the pond. I'm not quite sure where that is yet. So, blooming heck, mud. So some of the ground, obviously this is the lower bit of the ground, so the water runs down, and at the foot of it, it's muddier because the water's just running off that hill, congregating at the level. Makes the ground quite soggy. So I will in fact have a walk around this pond and see what like. See that in here. So, first thing I'm going to do is have a look at this one. lovely pond behind. So there's a close-up of this standing stone, and I'll go and have a look at the other one as I make my way around this loch. And as I say, that's the Craighall Stones just up there, which I'll have a look at very shortly. So I've made my way up. There's a bit of a sort of burn-like ditch running on the other side of the bank. So this is the other side of this stone looking out in the direction of Courthill Stone. Very unusual tree, by the way. Trees never used to grow like that. It used to be the trunk at the bottom and the branch out further up. Just thought I'd put that on the video also. I've done lots of videos regarding strange trees that I've been noticing lately, since 2020. Trees are just bizarre. They normally grow up as one trunk, and then further up they split it up into different parts of the tree, different trunks. Now the trunks are just splitting off at the ground and growing at very bizarre, strange, unusual angles as well. That's another thing that I've noticed lately. See, that's more of a traditional tree. It does look odd, but it's more traditional looking. You had the trunk at the bottom, then it would branch out. But a lot of the trees now, a lot of them I've been noticing lately, it's branched out from ground level, which is pretty bizarre for me anyway, in my reality that I remember. So this is lovely wee seating area. Picture of that as well. Very nice. You can just sit here and could have a picnic and have a look at that view just up ahead. Nice, nice. So let's press on. I'll have a look at these other stones at the other side. I'll have a look around the back of this as well, just to, not that there's really a lot to see, but I still want to see around it. So I'll have a look at these other stones. So I've done videos on stones, standing stones on my channel over the years. Well, not many. I've only been YouTubing since April 2020, so it's 4 years this month actually. But I have got a few videos up throughout that on my channel with other standing stones that I've visited so far that weren't around before, as far as I'm concerned. Well, I wasn't sure I would have heard of them and I would have went to them. So that's why I'm just overwhelmed by the fact that there's just so many standing stones now around Britain. And in the grandparent region, apparently there's 70, which is nuts. Never used to be that many. But when reality changes, like the Mandela effect phenomenon, is like history changing. So that's sort of what it resembles. So when history changes, that reality changed, which is what, as I say, do your own research into it, come to your own conclusions regarding it. So this is a wee look at these stones as well, which is I've never seen them before. I don't think they're on the map. This is part of it just says Courthill Stone, which is that one on its own. It doesn't mention anything on Google, to my knowledge. So I'm going to make my way up to the Craighall Stone. So this is where the ground gets a little bit, a bit muddy. But I'll get through it, I'll get there. So I was kind of like walking through that bit. That burn was called Mill Burn, by the way. And I had another look at the Google Maps, and this pond isn't seen or marked on it, so neither are the stones or anything. But it does give us the name of this burn that's running by it, and it's called Mill Burn. So presumably to feed a mill at one point. So I'm just en route to the Craighall Stone Circle. So this is it. Sorry sheep, sorry to disturb you, but I just want to have a look at these stones. Get it logged in on my video. I want to look at them. So sorry to disturb you, sheep. I didn't ask you to move, you just moved on your own accord. But I'm only here to look at these stones, so I wasn't there to disturb them. So, Craighall Standing Stones, or Stone Circle as it's called in the map. There's got to be well over a dozen of them forming the circle, but it's not the biggest circle I've seen, but it's well, that's what it's marked in as a map anyway, the stone circle. It looks like it's the same kind of material stone, it's the same type of rock that they've used. It looks the same anyway as the Courthill one, so whether they were built at the same time or what, and their purpose, I don't know. Why they were built, you know, what their purpose is. That's why I was fascinated in stone circles back in the 80s, when I heard about Stonehenge and possibly the Ring of Barra. But I think it was just mainly the Stone Circle. I heard the ones maybe around in other places around the world, like Egypt and stuff, but I've never been anywhere, you know, the pyramids and mystical ancient monuments and that. I haven't been, I'd like to, but I haven't been yet, maybe one day. But I'm sure I would have heard about the standing stones if there were as many as they are now in this reality. That's the thing with the Mandela effect, it's different realities. It's like history's changed, it's different history, and the consciousness has shifted from the realities. So in another reality there wasn't as many stone circles, whereas now in this reality there are loads of them. So I'll get a few pictures and I'll take some more footage around this. So this is just a sort of more of a it looks as though the field's kind of been cultivated up to this point here, but the ground, it doesn't seem to have a kind of circular boundary around it like that of the Courthill Stone. It seems to just, it doesn't seem to have that. But the cultivation work starts here. You can see where it's been the farming has been done on that side. And this is the sort of the line, and it goes to the wild grass, and then the stones just seem to be left on their own. So sort of a peculiar pattern on the stone as well. The wave sort of, I don't know what causes that. So it's quite interesting, quite baffled as to what the purpose of them are. Why there's so many of them now all of a sudden. So, I'll probably just make my way back now. I've visited them all. Well, all the ones I saw anyway. I've saw the Courthill Stone. I've got footage of that. I've had a look at Craighall Circle. It's marked on the map. I had a look at the pond down there that isn't marked on the Google Maps, and I had a look at some stones that were around it as well that appeared to be ancient. I guess were ancient stones. And Craighall, there's some stones around Courthill Stone. There's stones around it as well, which I didn't know I was. Well, I didn't expect to see that. I thought it was just going to be one stone, but there's more that appear to be the same type of rock, probably placed there at the same time. And these are probably being put there at the similar era to the Courthill Stone. I don't know about the ones at the pond. Perhaps they were put in at the same time as well. The purpose, I don't know. I wanted to know what the purpose of these stones, the official purpose. There's lots of theories, but I don't know what the purpose is. That's why I was always fascinated with Stonehenge back in the 80s, and when I discovered that Stonehenge was completely disassembled lately, I mean in the late 1960s, pictures I discovered lately myself in 2018, but the pictures show footage, pictures taken in the 60s and also in the early 1900s, like 1904 I think it was maybe a excavation work and restoration work as well being done on them, which I'd never heard of, and I couldn't have imagined that happening. I thought that these things were untouched for all the years that they were, since they were put up. Basically, that's what made them so significant, the fact that they survived so long. And to hear that they've been lifted up with cranes and everything, that just amazed me. So I was already initially amazed as to what the purpose was, and then when I heard that they'd moved them and everything, that was unheard of. I would have known about that if that happened in that reality back in the 80s and 90s when I first heard it, or in the 80s when I first heard of it. So I'm going to make my way back up to the car now. So, it's quite good. Nice wee visit that. Nice wee outing as well. So, there's lots of routes to get you there, obviously. The route I took, as I say, was from Dundee. And I drove via the A923 through Cooperangus and Blairgowrie. And then just when I get to Rattray, which is joined to Blairgowrie, the road, Bonington Road, which is what I'm on now. You just follow it up about a mile or so, a mile and a half maybe, and on the right, that's where they are. Yeah, Bonington Road. You've seen it on the map anyway. So, spring's a lovely time of year. The air's fresher and it's crisp. I like summer the best, obviously, but spring is really nice when you're in the countryside here in the Angus countryside on a lovely day. It just makes it a great day. I mean, this is just a great stress relief. Fresh air, and lovely scenery, places of interest as well. You know, I like the stones. I was out hiking yesterday with the Hill Walking Club. I walked 12 miles through the hills. So, you think I wouldn't be out of breath. I'm just tired as well. A slight uphill You can hear all the sheep and the lambs and that. One bike. So they're getting fed, I think. So as I say, there's lots of stones and stone circles apparently now in Scotland. I shall try and get as many as I can when I get a chance. I'll make a video of them. So just keep a check on my channel if you want to see the footage that I take of them. And when I was talking about the trees earlier on, the way I always remembered it traditionally is that this trunk bit would be going right the way down, quite high, then it would start splitting out further up. It's starting to split up much lower to the ground now. I mean, it never used to be that short. I used to climb trees when I was a kid, lots of other things as well, buildings and all the rest of it. I was a lot fitter. Well, height was to my advantage as well, so I did climb lots. I used to give people high stees up and everything because, you know, to help them get up, and I'd be the last one I had to make my own way up, but I was usually bigger than them, so to my advantage. So I'd have climbed lots of things, including trees, and I remember that it was difficult getting up to where it would split. It was normally much further up, but now it's so much lower down. It's so low down now, you could just practically walk in and climb it. There's not much effort anymore. A lot more trees are like this. This is just an example. You get them with the ground levels at this, and they're splitting out the ground. I've got loads of videos and footage showing this that I've discovered lately in the last few years, or since 2020 mainly. It never used to be like that. It would always be the big trunk bit at the bottom, and then it would split out way up at the top, hence making it quite difficult to climb up them. So it's just another wee bit to add on to the video as well. And you get some really spectacular views there, just looking over to the sort of south. My bearings are correct. Southwest, southern area towards Fife. And the flat bit will be where Errol was, I think. A lot of airstrips because of the flat ground Errol airstrip area. Sure, that's what the area I'm looking at, and I'll be looking slightly over to the west, southwest. And another quite thing I've noticed quite bizarrely lately is about trails, chemtrails. I've heard them being called. I know for a fact I never used to see them like that before, and I've witnessed them turning into clouds as well. And all these strange marks in the cloud, that's all fairly recently new thing to me. Never used to be like that, but I find it bizarre. So that's just another thing I thought I'd mention. There's a lot of that. I mean, it's just variable. I've seen the trails all squiggly and everything. I've heard the phrase being chemtrails. I've been told that they were contrails. I know what I remember in the 80s, and I didn't behave like that. In the 80s it was very faint line that would just disappear quite quickly, and the plane was much higher up when it was cruising. Now you can actually see the profile of the plane, which is unusual. And the trails linger on, and they're really thick, and there's so many of them, they crisscross and everything, making X's and all sorts of marks and squiggly lines in the sky. That never used to happen. And with the Mandela effect, I've seen it on old films now in the background. There was a 1960s film called The Avengers, and I'll put that on my quest. Yeah, there was a 1960s film called The Avengers with Steed and Mrs. Peel, Emma Peel. John Steed played by Patrick McNee, and Emma Peel was played by Diana Rigg. In the 60s sci-fi, well, not really, it was like a kind of spy detective thing. And a lot of the older films used props. So some of the outside footage would just be a prop in the studio, and they'd paint the background, and you would use that as an outside shot, just for cheapness and easiness back then. And one of them actually painted trails in the sky, and it was ridiculous. It looked really out of place, and that was supposed to be normal back then in the 60s. Was there as many jet planes, and why would they paint it like that? You know, in the 60s, whoever painted it would have to have known what they were painting. So they obviously would have been aware of all these trails. Again, the Mandela effect, be history changing. It was never like that before. Never. I would have known about it. It's new on me. So I highlighted it on my series called Quest, which is about stuff I find strange. I think it's Quest 9 actually. Season 2 Quest. No, Season 2 Quest 1. Season 2 Episode 1. It's not that long to put up actually. You'll find it. Just type in Quest on my name and my channel. Season 2 Episode 1. That showed that I went with the Avengers. So it's been a lovely day and a lovely wee outing as well. So hope you enjoyed the video. It's going to be back now. I've got a long trip to the Isle of Skye tomorrow, and I'll get footage of that when in there. I've got only there for the 2 nights. Like I said earlier, it's too expensive to spend any longer there, but I'll get as much footage as I can, driving footage of the scenery as well, and make a video of that. So and standing stones for future videos, I'll try to get as many done as I could. So anyway, that's these 2 done. Hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. Just see what else I stick up on my channel. Okay, see you later on. Bye for now.